I love this Pottery Barn pinboard, but the price is criminal, so let's try to make it for under $100. I started by grabbing a tablecloth from HomeSense, then headed to my local hardware store and grabbed a piece of 1-inch foam insulation. We are making the 48 by 36 inch pinboard, so with that foam, you'll be able to make 2 pinboards. Next, I went to the molding area and grabbed a piece of 2-inch flat trim. Next, you're going to want to grab a tube of PL 300. This is how we're going to get the fabric to stay to our piece of foam insulation. We can't use regular glue because it will melt down the foam. We are going to start by cutting our trim pieces. So you're going to need 2 48-inch pieces and then 2 36-inch pieces. You are going to miter the edge of your wood pieces and cut them at a 45-degree angle, which is going to give you a perfect 90-degree angle once they're attached. After we have cut our trim pieces, we're moving on to paint. So I use the color Shark Skin by Behr because we had this paint at home already. But the Pottery Barn version is black, but I have seen a sage green version out there. It's just not available on Pottery Barn's website right now. While that was drying, I moved on to cutting the foam board. We are going to measure out just under 48 inches by 36 inches. And the reason you want it right under this measurement is because our trim pieces are those exact measurements and we need the foam board to fit inside our frame. Once you have all your points laid out, go find something straight so that you can create a straight line on all the measurement points you made. We'll be using this line as a guide on where to cut the foam. For this next part, I am using a saw to cut down the foam board, but you can definitely use an X-Acto knife for this process if you don't have a saw. Any way you decide to cut this, just make sure you do it outside because it does make quite a mess. Before I make any permanent changes to the foam board, I am just dry fitting the trim pieces around the board to make sure everything's lining up good. If your trim pieces aren't lining up and the board is too big, just go back and make another cut. When doing your dry fits, you don't want it to be an extremely tight fit because we still need to glue our fabric around our foam board. I didn't want to be able to see any wrinkles on this pin board, so I did give it a quick steam before putting it on the board. I would do this ahead of time because I don't know how foam would react to the steam. Once your foam is to size and your fabric's been steamed, go ahead and cut your fabric. We're not looking for perfection here because it's going to be hidden behind the board. Now it's time to glue our fabric to the foam board using PL 300. I did not glue the front of the board and then put the fabric down because I didn't want to risk seeing the PL 300 through the fabric. So for gluing this, I was just gluing the edges of the back of the foam board and pulling the fabric nice and tight as I went around. Then while it was drying, I just put clips around the board so it didn't shift at all. I got to work on the frame after this, so to get the edges to stick at 90 degrees, I just used some wood glue, put it on either side of the trim piece, and I spread it out nice and even on the end of that piece. Did that on both sides, and then I clamped them together with a corner clamp. Then I repeated that process with 2 more trim pieces and then left that overnight to dry. So what I'm left with at the end of this is 2 giant L's. Once that sat overnight and was completely dry, I then assembled the 2 L's together. I'm only gluing together 1 more corner of this frame because it's going to let us put the foam board in place and then also glue it together at the very end for a nice tight fit. This is me just doing another dry fit with the board. Now we are ready to glue the foam board in place. So here I'm just taking that PL 300 and going around the base of our frame here, and then I'm going to slide the foam board on top through the trim piece. Once you slide your pin board into the middle of your frame, you're going to then go around the edges and clamp it. For the last corner of our trim that we didn't put together, I'm putting PL 300 on both sides of the trim, and then I'm clamping that together. Waiting till the end to glue this corner is how we're going to get a nice snug fit. Now I'll let that dry overnight. I picked up some picture hooks and also some twine to create the back piece that will hang from the wall. I marked a spot 4 inches down from the top of the frame, and this is where I'm going to install the picture hooks. Because this is a foam board, we're going to need to secure it extra well. If we just put the screw in, it's going to fall out from our foam. So I am putting PL 300 in the screw hole, and then I'm screwing it down into place. And then I'm also going on top again and covering the picture hook with PL 300. This stuff dries rock hard, so I have no worries about the picture hook coming out of the foam board after it dries completely. Then I repeated the process on the other side for the other picture hook, and then I started measuring the twine for the frame. And with the twine, I just kept looping it over and over again through those picture hooks until it was nice and tight on both sides. And then my pin board was ready to put on the wall. I personally think it looks very similar to the Pottery Barn pin board, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like these these types of projects, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow for more DIYs.